What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel, and today we're talking some college football bets ahead of the Week 5 Friday slate. It's a doubleheader. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We are also brought to you by Bet365. They have a deal for those of you in Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado, Louisiana, Indiana, Arizona, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. If you live in one of those states, you can click the link below, make your first deposit. Bet $5 on any game, could be a side or a total. Whether it wins or loses, you will be paid out $200 in the form of bonus bets. You must be 21 or older to play, 18 in Kentucky. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, bring you behind the glass to our live odds screen for college football at Odd Shopper. Ton of cool stuff going on if you want to take a look at this. Poke around yourselves. We have, not kidding, like a million different tools for every single kind of sports bettor, recreational, serious, props, whatever it is, it's there. Check it out. All right, we'll begin with the, I guess, potential blowout. Miami taking on Virginia Tech. Miami, it opened around this actually. Now it's almost 19.5 consensus. There's like a rogue 19 out there, but Virginia took some money early. It went down to around 17.5. Now it's back up. And it was a Miami or pass for me. Even when the line moved, it's still a Miami or pass right now. There's a ton of sticker shock on this. And it makes sense. Virginia Tech is supposed to be a quality team. They had a lot of high preseason expectations because of the amount of starters they return. But Brent Pry has not been able to get anything out of this team. Drones has been a disaster. If you look at some of the efficiency stats, he's not even completing 60% of his passes. He has 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. He has more turnover-worthy plays than big-time throws. He still runs, which is positive, but the O-line is showing cracks. They're 32nd in pressure rate allowed, 36th in pass blocking, 72nd in run blocking. They had 2 starters in the offensive lineman either miss last week or get hurt in the game. It's just a lot to overcome for this team right now. Not to mention, your defense hasn't even been close to living up to expectations. And with the amount of starters they returned, this is inexcusable. They're 97th in total defense, 120th against the run, 68th in coverage. And again, this is returning almost their entire team. The only guy who's been hurt on this side of the ball is Stroman at safety. They gave up 10.8 yards per pass attempt to 8th in Kaliakmanis. And they have not faced the best crop of signal callers. Diego Pavia is supposed to be a runner by trade. He was at 11.9 yards per attempt. Stone Earl, I mean, he didn't get much going, but you look at the backfield, 17.2 yards per carry to A.J. Turner. They played an FCS team. Old Dominion had their backup in there. This is a disaster for Virginia Tech's defense so far. And what does Miami do well? Basically everything. The crazy thing is they haven't even had 2 of their best players. Jalen Rivers hasn't been there on the offensive line, and Ruben Bain hasn't been there on the edge. Both of these players are expected to return this game, which makes sense. They basically played a bunch of cupcakes up until this point, with the exception of Florida in week 1. But man, this defense is a top 10 unit everywhere. The only thing that's shown cracks has been their offensive line, and now you're getting back one of your starting tackles. You go 4 deep at wide receiver. Your backfield is deep, highlighted by Damian Martinez. Your defense is full of elite recruits and premier players, some transfers, some not. The only thing that's really prevented Miami from just putting the beat down on teams is the penalties. They had 8 in the first half against USF. We saw when they cleaned it up, they were able to get it done. I don't think I can lay the 19.5. It's a ton of points to lay. And that opens you to all kinds of stuff like backdoors. Miami could roll them in the first half, take their foot off the gas. VT continues to play their starters. Boom, you get backdoored. I hate playing games where you need to guess the motivation of the team in addition to predicting, the value of these numbers. So it's not really too interesting to me. The total in the game, we'll flip over there for a second. 54.5 is somewhat interesting. VT plays relatively fast. So I think you could look here. But again, it's not that interesting to me. It's basically 54.5 consensus across the board. The second game I have a lot more interest in, and it's Met Resistance at 2.5. You can even find a 2, albeit juiced in favor of Rutgers. They take on Washington. So it's basically 2.5. The total in the game is hovering around 44, very low. And that's because you have both of these teams playing extremely slow. Washington is 104th in pace. Rutgers is 120th. Defense has been pretty good for both teams. Rutgers 49th, Washington 27th. Rutgers has room for improvement because they returned 2 of their starters from injury. And these were guys that started last year, projected to start this year, but made their debuts against Virginia Tech. That would be Tyreen Powell at linebacker, Wesley Bailey on the edge. That is a big boost for this team because they have shown cracks against the run at times. You look at, Jordan Simmons for Akron. He's at 12.1 yards per carry on 9 carries. Bashal Tootin had a pretty good game, 8.1 yards per carry. Drones was at 6.7. You can go back even further. Howard had surprisingly some success on the ground, but now you get 2 guys in your front 7 back. We're expecting that to be better. They've had a good secondary. Washington has been suspect, and they're a team I've been trying to sell long-term, so this is kind of music to my ears. They lost to Washington State already, a team we don't think that much of. Then they beat Eastern Michigan and Northwestern. Eastern Michigan has Cole Snyder as their quarterback. He couldn't cut it at Buffalo. He transfers over here, 4.8 yards per attempt. And Northwestern's already had to bench their quarterback this year, Jack Lausch. He's been the replacement for Mike Wright, 2.0 yards per attempt. So, yeah, Washington's defense has something to do with that. But this team still comes in 54th in passers, 32nd in coverage. I thought it would be better. You look at where this team is right now, facing Rutgers. I think it's a pretty difficult matchup. Rutgers has one of the best offensive lines in football, currently 6th in pass blocking, 2nd in run blocking, and they played some pretty good pass rushes. Coming into last week, Virginia Tech was ranked 20th in pass rush. They absolutely stonewalled that team. So I do think there is a mismatch offensive line versus defensive line in favor of Rutgers. They should be able to run the ball with Kyle Monangai behind that unit, which means, okay, when Kaliakmanis has to drop back, their quarterback, can he just do enough? Take care of the ball? And I think so. He's done that so far this year, 62.5% completion. He is a small component of the run game, but he gives you a little bit there. 9 yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns. They're getting pretty good play out of their transfer receiver, Demir. So I think that's a solid addition to this team. Rutgers just playing with a more dynamic offense than we thought. Then on the other side, there are some injuries for Washington. Their O-line has been a mess. They've been rotating players already. They've had some injuries, and it's been a revolving door. That unit currently is 45th in pass blocking, 79th in run blocking. I love what Jonah Coleman gives them, but he's not running behind a unit that's really that competent. Now you face a pretty good Rutgers front 7, getting 2 reinforcements back. Will Rogers is what he is. They still are using Damon Williams at points in time, which is kind of weird. He's more of like a gadgety dual threat so far, but he's a freshman. Perhaps he grows into something more. But yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in this Washington team. I think they've already played suspect competition and played down to some of it. Like Northwestern, that could have been a lesser margin of victory as well. Northwestern kicked a field goal from the 1-yard line. It's a bit weird, a bit noisy in the box score. 2 really easy cupcakes in Weber State, Eastern Michigan. Washington State's not a team you should lose to if you have aspirations. And then Northwestern with Lausch is just a disaster. I'll back Rutgers minus the 2.5. That's the number I already played. I'm seeing 2s on the screen. This has been bouncing a little bit, but it's kind of been firmly parked at 2.5. I'm fine with that number. I'll play that number, and I already have. If you want to watch more college football content on the Saturday main slate, myself and Ben Raza did everything on Betting You, full in-game breakdowns. We have a marquee episode, and we have a greasy episode. It drops on Thursdays. Check those out if you want full in-depth breakdowns on more games, and we take requests. So if you have anything you want to hear about, comments, reach out on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Happy to dive into anything you'd like to hear. Until next time, good luck, everyone. We'll see you later.